Good evening, everyone. There was a time when everything in my life felt like it was falling apart. Plans collapsed. People I trusted disappeared. The silence got louder. And for a moment, I thought maybe that was it. Maybe life just beats you down and keeps you there. But somewhere in that darkness, I realized something crucial. Hard times are not the beginning. Pain builds resilience. Struggles are what develop mental and emotional strength. Not in theory, but in practice, in the real, raw, unfiltered moments of life when you're at your lowest, questioning everything, including yourself. It's in those moments, those late nights when sleep doesn't come, those mornings when getting out of bed feels like lift a mountain, those days when you feel like a ghost in your own life, that resilience begins to take root. Not because someone told you, stay strong, but because you had no choice. Survival made you strong. When life punches you in the chest, your first instinct is to protect, to retreat, maybe even to give up. But each time you survive what you thought would destroy you, something shifts inside you. Something wakes up. You realize that you're still standing, still breathing, and somehow still capable of putting one foot in front of the other. That's where resilience begins. Not in winning, but in refusing to quit even when you're losing. Real strength is not loud. It doesn't always look like confidence or courage. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's the decision to go to work with a broken heart, to be kind when you're angry, to keep helping others when you need help yourself. Pain teaches you that strength is not in pretending everything is fine, but in carrying the weight of everything that's not and moving forward anyway. Every struggle you face becomes a part of your training. Life has a way of stretching us beyond what we think we can handle. And right when you believe you've hit your limit, another storm hits. But if you've been through enough storms, you stop fearing the thunder. You learn that you've endured worse. You've walked through fires and come out scarred, but alive. The scars don't mean you're weak. They mean you fought. They mean you healed. They mean you didn't let pain turn you bitter. Resilience is not something you're born with. It's something pain teaches you, lesson by brutal lesson. And not just big, dramatic pain, even the small daily frustrations, the rejection emails, the broken friendships, the unexpected bills, the dreams that don't work out. These are all tests. They chip away at you until you learn not to crumble. You get tired, but you don't quit. You fall, but you get up faster each time. What used to shake you now barely moves you. That's growth. That's resilience. Pain also strips away illusion. It forces you to face yourself. When things fall apart, you learn who you really are and what you really value. You begin to separate the noise from the truth. You see what matters and who never did. That clarity, that inner knowing is a form of strength too. It's not just a bouncing back from what hurt you. It's about becoming someone wiser, deeper, and more grounded because of it. The most resilient people aren't the ones who have had it easy. They're the ones who have been through hell, walked through it barefoot, and still found a way to keep their soul intact. They are proof that pain, while inevitable, doesn't have to define you. It can refine you. It can make you more compassionate, more determined, more fearless. And that's why pain is never wasted. It's the forge in which resilience is made. Adversity has a way of introducing us to ourselves in ways that comfort never could. When everything is stable, we often live on autopilot, moving through routines, surrounded by familiar faces, carrying dreams that remain untested. But the moment adversity hits, everything changes. Suddenly, the life you thought you understood becomes a battlefield. Plans fall apart, people walk away, and the ground beneath you starts to shake. It's in that pause that a deeper transformation begins, not because you wanted it, because you were forced to confront truths that comfort had buried. Hard times strip away what is superficial. They expose the weaknesses in our foundation, the cracks in our identity, the gaps between who we are and who we claim to be. Adversity doesn't ask for permission. It tears things down, but sometimes demolition is necessary. Sometimes the only way to build something stronger, to destroy what was too fragile to last. The pain, the loss, the confusion, they all serve a purpose. They challenge you to look within, to question everything, and to begin again with greater intention. Transformation doesn't begin with answers. It begins with disruption. It begins with the moment you realize that the life you had no longer fits who you're becoming. Maybe it's the job that drains you, the relationship that stunts you, or the silence that follows a devastating failure. Whatever the trigger, adversity forces you into a space of reflection. And in that reflection, you start to let go of the version of yourself that was too small to carry the weight of your potential. It's easy to believe that hard times are the end, that the breakdown is final. But what if the breakdown is actually a breakthrough in disguise? What if the closed door is protection, not punishment? Adversity doesn't just show you what's missing, it shows you what's possible. It reveals strength you didn't know you had, clarity you didn't know you needed, and resilience you never thought you were capable of. The pain becomes a pivot point. The struggle becomes a seed. Every great transformation story begins with discomfort. You can't grow and stay the same. You can't evolve while clinging to what feels safe. Adversity forces movement. It demands growth. It invites you to rise. And rising doesn't mean returning to who you were. It means stepping into someone new, someone wiser, more grounded, and more aware of what truly matters. The hardest part is the middle, the in between, where you've let go of what was, but haven't yet stepped into what will be. It's uncertain, it's messy, but it's necessary. Because it's in that in-between space that the real change happens. It's where the inner work begins, where patience is tested, where faith is refined, and eventually something new emerges. Not just a new life situation, but a new version of you that was born through fire, not fear. And though adversity never comes easy, it often brings you face to face with the beginning of everything that's meant for you. Comfort is appealing. It's warm, familiar, and safe. It wraps around you like a soft blanket and whispers that everything is okay just as it is. And for a while, maybe that's enough. There's nothing wrong with enjoying peace or stability. But the moment you decide that comfort is your final destination, you start to stagnate. Growth doesn't live in ease. It lives in resistance. It shows up in the struggle, in the tension, in the uncomfortable moments that push you beyond what you thought you were capable of. Comfort, while soothing, rarely asks anything of you. Discomfort, on the other hand, demands your attention and your evolution. When you're comfortable, you don't feel the urgency to change. Why would you? Nothing is pressuring you to look deeper or reach higher, but growth requires friction. Just like muscles grow by being torn and rebuilt through resistance, your mind and character grow through facing what's difficult. If you always stay where it's easy, you never discover your limits or surpass them. You remain the same, even when your potential is begging you to do more, be more, live more. The truth is, the path to anything meaningful is paved with discomfort. Whether it's learning a new skill, building a meaningful relationship, starting a business, healing from trauma, or simply becoming a better version of yourself, it all requires that you step into places that feel uncertain. Growth is born in discomfort because discomfort exposes your fears. You have the power habits, your blind spots. It's in those moments when you feel out of your depth, unsure and vulnerable, that real learning happens. You begin to see not only what you're lacking, but also what you're capable of building. Most people avoid discomfort because it feels like pain. And yes, it can be painful. But there's a difference between destructive pain and transformative discomfort. One tears you down without purpose. The other stretches you so you can become stronger. Every challenge you face becomes a mirror reflecting back the areas in your life where you've stayed small. When you step into that reflection, instead of running from it, you begin the process of expansion. You start to embrace struggle not as an enemy, but as a necessary ally. Growth also asks for sacrifice. It asks you to leave behind the version of yourself that was only suited for the comfort zone. And that's not easy. It means saying no to the habits that once gave you pleasure. It means confronting fears instead of burying them. It means walking alone sometimes in silence with no guarantee that you'll get it right. But it's in those exact moments when you're uncertain, when you're tired, when you're afraid, but moving forward anyway, that something begins to shift inside you. You stop seeing discomfort as something to escape and start seeing it as proof that you're changing. There's a reason growth often feels like breaking. Because part of you is breaking. The part silence and solitude are often misunderstood. In a world that moves fast and prizes noise, notifications, conversations, applause,
validation.
It's easy to believe that value is found in how visible or loud your life is, but real strength is rarely loud. It's often born in the quiet when no one is watching and there's no one to cheer you on. Silence strips away the distractions. Solitude removes the need for performance. What's left is just you, your thoughts, your fears, your doubts, and your truth. And in that raw stillness, a different kind of strength begins to form. The time spent alone can feel like exile to some, especially in hard seasons. When friends are distant, when support fades, or when the crowd disappears, it can feel like a punishment. But solitude isn't always something life does to you. It's often something life gives you because there are lessons you can only learn when you're alone. There's a version of you that only emerges in silence when the noise of the world fades and the only voice left is your own. That voice, when you learn to listen to it, becomes the foundation of personal power. It's easy to appear strong when life is good, when the people around you are clapping, when opportunities are flowing,
and your name is being praised.
But what about when the room goes quiet, when nobody calls, when no one shows up and the spotlight moves on? That's when you learn what you're really made of. That's when you face your inner battles, the ones that don't get talked about on social media or noticed by anyone else. The insecurities, the self-doubt, the questions about your worth or direction. These battles are invisible, but they are where true resilience is forged. A strength developed in silence is different from the kind built in public. It doesn't depend on applause. It doesn't waver when validation fades. It grows from a deeper place where you face your own contradictions, sit with your disappointments, and still choose to keep going. This kind of strength is quiet but immovable. It doesn't need to prove anything. It knows what it has survived. Solitude creates space for clarity. When you're constantly surrounded by noise, opinions, expectations, comparisons, it's hard to hear your own intuition. But in solitude, you reconnect with your values, your goals, and your identity. You realize what truly matters to you,
not just what looks good to others.
That clarity becomes an anchor. It grounds you when the storms of life come. You stop reacting to everything and start responding from a place of intention. Many people run from solitude because it's uncomfortable. A silence can bring up feelings we've buried, but facing those feelings is where healing and growth begin. The inner work, the journaling, the reflection, the honest self-assessment isn't glamorous, but it is powerful because the more time you spend understanding yourself, the less power the world has to define you. There's a quiet pride in knowing you built your strength in solitude, that you faced days when giving up seemed easier, when doubt felt heavier than hope, and you still found a way forward. That strength isn't shaken by the opinions of others because it wasn't built on them. It was built in silence. It was built in the moments you cried alone but got up anyway, in the mornings you faced the day with no audience, no motivation. Just grit. That strength the world can't take away. External victories fade, trophies gather dust, titles change, but the strength you build in your inner world stays with you. It becomes your armor when life gets chaotic. It becomes your compass when you're lost, and it becomes your peace when everything around you feels unstable. Silence and solitude don't just teach strength, they reveal it. They don't give you answers, but they help you hear your own. And when you've learned to trust yourself in the quiet, you carry that strength everywhere you go, even into the noise. Suffering is often seen as something to escape, something that disrupts the rhythm of life and derails everything we hope for. It brings with it pain, confusion, and the lingering question of, why me? But what if suffering wasn't a detour? What if it was preparation? The moments that hurt the most, that feel unfair or unbearable, often become the very experiences shape us for a greater purpose down the road. It doesn't make the suffering easier, but it gives it meaning. And meaning can transform pain into purpose. There are times when life seems to fall apart without warning. A sudden loss, a betrayal, a failure you didn't see coming, events that shake your foundation and leave you questioning your worth, your path, and even your future. In those moments, it's hard to see anything beyond the pain. But if you look closely, you'll notice that the suffering is doing something deeper. It's stretching you, refining you, forcing you to grow in ways you never would have chosen voluntarily. That process is preparation, even if it feels like punishment. The pain teaches lessons that comfort never could. You learn patience when things don't go your way. You learn resilience when you keep moving through exhaustion. You learn compassion when you suffer and then notice the suffering of others.
Every hardship is an education.
Life's toughest trials are the teachers that carve out the parts of you that are necessary for what comes next.
The strength you'll need later is being built right now in your struggle.
Even when you can't see the full picture, it's easy to romanticize success and purpose, to think they arrive wrapped in achievement and applause. But most people who live with real purpose have walked through deep valleys. They felt pain that broke them open. And in that brokenness, they found truth, humility, and perspective. Purpose is not found in the absence of suffering.
It's often discovered because of it.
When life forces you to slow down, when it removes the people or plans you thought you needed, it clears the space for something better, something more aligned with who you are becoming. Reframing suffering as preparation doesn't deny the hurt. It doesn't sugarcoat the struggle. Instead, it recognizes that some growth only happens when you are brought to your knees. It's in those low moments that your character is tested and shaped. You either give up or you rise. You either let the pain harden you or you let it deepen you.
The choice is always yours.
Even when it feels like everything else is out of your control, there is a kind of strength that can only be gained through endurance. When you survive what you thought would break you, become someone who can carry more, leave more, and your story gains depth. Your voice gains credibility. People may not see the battles you've fought, but your presence carries the weight of someone who has endured, and that presence becomes part of your purpose. You inspire not because your life is perfect, but because you kept going when it wasn't. Often we are placed in difficult situations not because we deserve the pain, but because we are being prepared for a role that requires strength, empathy, and perspective. You can't guide others through something you've never experienced. But you can't speak into someone's heartbreak if you've never felt your own heart shatter. The preparation is for something more, something beyond the current moment. And the very suffering you wish would and may be the foundation for the impact you'll make later. Purpose doesn't come in a straight line. It's often revealed after confusion, after healing, after a long season of not knowing. But if you look back, you'll see how the moments that made you cry also made you wise. The disappointments redirected you.
The silence taught you to listen.
The pain introduced you to strength you didn't know you had. And in that process, something bigger was being built. Not just around you,
but within you.
Suffering, when seen through the lens of preparation, becomes less about what you lost and more about what you gained. It becomes the soil where your purpose can take root. It's not about glorifying pain. It's about redeeming it.
And when you realize that every try is
Equipping you for something more, you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this preparing me for? That shift changes everything.
So if you're in a season of struggle right now,
don't rush to escape it. Don't let the pain convince you that you're off track. You're not being buried, you're being planted. The strength, the wisdom, the clarity you're searching for are being formed in this very moment. One day, what you're walking through now will become the reason someone else finds hope. And when that day comes, you'll understand that every tear, every delay, every disappointment wasn't wasted. It was preparing you for something far greater than you imagined.
The purpose is in the process.